Here we go. Ole Dammegard, welcome to this online meeting where we're going to debate what is going on in Denmark, in Paris, the rest of the world, particular with the fire that happened here in Copenhagen. How are you doing, Ole?
I'm doing great. And like they say, seems like there's something rotten in the state of Denmark. And I think maybe today's show is going to show that, whoop, we might be onto something there. So yeah, very, very odd and interesting, scary, blessed, incredible times we're living in.
And thank you so much for joining this call, Ole, because you're actually born in Denmark.
I am. I
Yeah.
was. My body
Most
was.
most people don't know that you are a Dane. And actually, most people, when I say I'm from Denmark, they say, "Oh, the capital is Stockholm in Sweden." So from people abroad, this doesn't mean anything. But I am
Nope.
a Dane myself. I'm based in Denmark. I have been very awake for the last 5 years. I've been somewhat awake before that. One of the people that I first encountered in all of this was you, Ole, and you are one of the few that I have stuck to from the very beginning, because I think you are one of the best in the world to actually tell the truth about what is going on. Thank you so much for being Ole Dammegard, Ole.
Well, thank you for noticing. I mean, I don't know who else I would be, but I'm doing my utmost. That is for sure. I've dedicated my life to expose the truth in whatever shape and form it comes.
You
So
certainly have,
yeah,
Ole, and you have written one book in 2 volumes about the assassination of Olof Palme, and I think that was actually what got you started. Just very brief, isn't that right?
no, I went.
Okay.
It was the JFK assassination that got me
Ah,
started in 1980. And then I went from that one. I became absolutely obsessed with that one. And this was way before anyone that I knew of was interested at all. And then that got me into the world of the assassinations of Martin Luther King, similar assassination, then Robert Kennedy, similar assassination, and Malcolm X. And it just like I started after spending thousands and thousands of hours down this rabbit hole, I started to see that there were these strange similarities. And in the end, I almost managed to make like a bullet point list of how to pull off a top political assassination, blame it on some innocent poor bugger, and get away with it. And then that I tracked that method back to the Roman Empire, how they did political assassination there. And once I understood that this is like thousands of years old, this template that they're using in how to manipulate the population into giving up and saluting their dictators as their saviors. I mean, it's so weird that we're doing this whole thing, but they were the ones that fine-tuned these few templates. There are not that many. And one of them is this how to get away with political assassinations. The other one is so-called false flag operations, where it's a complete mindfuckery, where the attacked one is actually the attacker. And the reason they attack themselves is to justify them defending themselves by invasion, rape, and plunder. Death is the key word in all of these things. So, yeah. And then along the way, Olof Palme is said to have been murdered in the streets of Stockholm. And by then, I was so into the world of these assassinations, and I started seeing that, which was mind blowing to me, that they were actually doing a very similar thing in Sweden, that they were following the exact same template. We was just like, I can't understand it. How is it possible that something these ones in the States, okay, I can get that one. But in Sweden, of all countries, how on earth is it possible that it follows? And so I said at one point, I mean, I was completely unknown. I was only myself and me, myself, and and whatever, that was looking into this whole thing. But I started seeing, but if what I suspect is true, then I can't really remember what it was, but I was looking at the other assassinations, looking at like the bullet points, what is going to be the next one. And so I predicted in Sweden that next one. And 2 weeks later, they went out, they had a press conference about exactly that. It blew the top of my head off, because the whole image I had of Sweden, of Scandinavia, of this beautiful, pure part of the world that I thought I grew up in, oh my God, it just pulled the carpet away under my feet. I just felt like falling into a black hole. I got very, very confused. And also because no one else could see it or noticed or were interested. And so this is the thing that sort of, I was like, but come on, guys, come on, can you not see it? And no, at that time, this was in the late 80s, mid 80s, something like that. Nobody was interested. So I thought, well, if nobody else is going to do it, I have to do it, because this is not how I had predicted my life to go down this path. This was, this is what employed police officers, forensic detectives, crime investigators, that's their job, but they're not doing it. For some reason, they're not doing it in so many of these cases. So that I just felt we had to take the power back by doing it ourselves, because otherwise they're using these horrible, horrible things to enslave us. That's the only word I can, to really kill a lot of us and enslave the rest of us. That's the plan. Sorry, if this is shocking news, sorry about that, but this is what I've come to. My conclusion is exactly that. And they have really speeded up with many different operations on a global scale, because this is not on a local, it's not Denmark, it's not Sweden, it's not the States, it's not England. This is a global agenda for a global overtake, and they're really pushing it, really pushing it. So today we're going to look at one aspect of this agenda, which is this fire at the stock market in Copenhagen.
And that's exactly it, because this really shows the speed up of the plans that you are talking about. And it also concludes some predictions that has been made some time back, and we'll get back to that. First of all, because the fire in the Danish stock exchange building called Børsen, the fire in that building made the spire, the tower with the spire on, fall down very dramatically and very picturesque, you can say. But that was actually just a repeat from another fire which happened some time back. And I think we better go into sharing some pictures here, because we're talking about the fire in Notre Dame in Paris. I'm just looked up here on the Wikipedia page, where you see the fire, you see the fire of
I cannot see anything. Oh, there it came. Thank
it's a
you.
bit
It's
delayed, yeah.
now it's there, yeah.
So we can see the spire aflame here, and that is very similar to what happened very recently here in Copenhagen. This fire, of course, happened back in 2019, and now it's 5 years later. But there's something about the date 5 years later, because it's quite close to the date 5 years ago.
It's one day different. And this is, if I remember right, this is also the day that the date that they sunk the so-called Titanic, which was actually the sister ship Olympic, the Olympic, or Olympia, sorry. No, but anyway, that was a big insurance fraud. But then also the Boston, I think the Boston Marathon bombing was that date also. I'm not completely sure, but they really, really love to recycle these dates. And here they did it with 1 day difference on the 5th year anniversary. And these spires are more or less identical on these two buildings, these very historical buildings from the many, many, many hundred years back. Like the Børsen in Copenhagen was built in the early 1600s, like 1609, I think they started with the whole sketching of it. And so when I've been interviewed more than 1,200 times, and over the years, and also have a newsletter that I've been doing for the last 10, 15 years, something like that. And so when the thing happened in Notre Dame, I was on it right away. And there were all of these very, very odd anomalies that were so bizarre, because that church is made out of stone. It's not a wooden church. It's not made of anything flammable, you know? So it's like, what on earth can burn? And with temperatures like that, because you can see the color of the flames shows the temperature of the fire. And with the Notre Dame, you can see that it's very intense. It's very intense. And there was scaffolding around it was under renovation, they said, but the renovation itself was very bizarre as well, where they had taken, among other things, statues and sculptures made out of bronze and other metal substances. These very old of saints and angels and whatever was taken down from the Notre Dame building and then decapitated. They chopped the head of them for the purpose of renovation. I have photos in the storehouse where these heads had been chopped off. And it's so very, very odd. And also the fire started inside the scaffolding, where nothing is flammable at all. That's where it started. So you couldn't see anything. And then beside it, you could see these intense flames. And in the end, you could see the spire come down. And one of the weird things were also, I mean, this is the second most popular location for tourism. You got the Eiffel Tower, and then you got this, the Notre Dame Church. And here we saw that there were hardly any firefighters. There were like 2, 3 fire trucks. The other firefighters were like half a kilometer away, where they were being taken photos by the camera, the press, and they were kept away from the fire itself. And then also we had Michelle Obama was standing in the Seine together with a group of friends, where they were making toast like that. There are even photos of where you can see Michelle Obama's wine glass, and the reflection in her glass, or his glass, you can see the fire. But it's like they're looking happy. It's almost like they're celebrating something, instead of this being an absolute disaster. And then also, there were drawings, architects' drawings, that were already prepared for the renovation. Hello, what on earth was that? And where the idea was to make a glass roof, like the church is built like an X, a glass roof, and then instead of a spire, they would have like a glass obelisk, which is a Freemasonic satanic symbol. So very, very odd. And I went out big time in many interviews and also in my newsletter, pointing out so many of these things, saying this is so not natural. I even had friends in the US who did tests with wood from the same year, more or less the I think the Notre Dame is from the 1200, something like that. I mean, they are rock hard. They even put jet fuel on them and turn it on fire to see if they could get it going. They could not. So what made that burn? What can make rock burn? You cannot in a normal way. That's why when you have a fire, if you go in the campsite or whatever, you make a fire, you put rocks around it so that the fire will not spread. It's not that the rocks are flammable and just go, oh my God, woof, what was that? No. So clearly something else was going on. And so here we have, more or less exactly on the 5th anniversary of this fire, we have an identical one in Copenhagen at Børsen. And once again, I was like, oh, holy whatever. they're doing it again. They're doing it again. Unbelievable, right in front of our face. And very, very similar with these spires, these two spires. And these are the only two fires of that type that I know of. And so similar and on the same date. Look at that. Here we have another spire. This is in Denmark now. You got the scaffolding around it. You got the tower that is made from wooden beams, but very old, very, very hard. And then you have, as far as I know, lead and also copper on top of it. So, but if you look at the color of the flames, this is very, very intense. The temperature is very high. You can see when the colors are lighter, that means the temperature are higher. Also the smoke, there's so much smoke. If you look, what is burning? What is it that is burning? And also, so when you look at these things, which are really, when you look from a sort of like objective point of mind, you will see that what can make materials like that burn? Nothing natural, but we have directed energy weapons. We got laser weapons nowadays that can do exactly that. You got companies like Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, you got like, which one else? Lockheed Martin also are some where they've been working on these type of weaponry for more than 50 years. And on their websites, they're bragging about that this is exactly what they can do. So you have to ask yourself, what on earth is going on? Because the official narrative that this is just a fire, you have to question that, because it is not. You cannot have fires like that. It's just impossible. So what caused it? Why? And who did it? That is what we have to ask ourselves.
So if both these fires, the fire 5 years ago in Notre Dame in Paris, and the fire here in Copenhagen 5 years later, if both those fires are so-called false flags, that means that someone is behind the fires. They are intentionally started, and the people are being made to believe something else. If they both are false flags, and if they both are orchestrated, what could possibly be the meaning of taking down Notre Dame spire and the Børsen spire in Denmark?
Very good questions, and I'm not sure, but I know that when Notre Dame burnt, this is a month, the month of April, and around this time of year is when you look at from a Freemasonic satanic point of view, it's the sacrifice, fire sacrifice. You got the same in around November as well. That 2 times a year when they have these type of things. When the Notre Dame fire happened, there was a lot of push in their operations to destroy the different world religions, with the intention of, in the end, creating a one world religion. They want everything centralized. It's a one world digital currency. It's a one world army there to control us, not to protect us. It's a one world leader. It's like a global dictator. It's a one world religion also, and so on, so on, so on. So part of destroying and make the religions crash, it's divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. Blame the Muslims, blame the black, blame the white, blame the... This is so that we fight among each other. We see each other as the problem and the enemy, instead of looking who's behind the scenes pulling these threads. So I believe that was one reason why they were also... There is a definite satanic touch behind these operations. They're very, very dark, very dark. And so this whole thing with decapitating the saints from... that is sort of like part of that. The destruction of the Christian spire, or the Catholic Church there, and at the same time replace it with a Freemasonic symbol. That is also a bit of a giveaway, where they very often do exactly like that. You have the Twin Towers, the Black Cube, you got the obelisk, the pyramid. These type of symbols are replacing very often the old ones, so that we don't even see it. We hardly see the shift. So I think this is one of the reasons with the Notre Dame. Then with the Danish one, it's further down the line in their agenda. And now it's the destruction of the economic system, I think, that this is a symbol of, where that, and also the maritime law and the whole thing with the royal castles and the families that are collapsing also, or moving around, because there were also very, very odd things that happened on more or less the same day as the Notre Dame fire. We had very strange things happening in Copenhagen. And after I did an interview with you, and you pointed out that there was a statue there that was a bit odd. So I started checking out the statue, and it just blew my head off because it's so in our face. So more or less on the day before, 5 days, 5 years before this happened, we had this statue was inaugurated. And this is the King Christian IV, who is normally depicted with like a saber and medals and a big plumage or whatever, like a powerful individual. Here, he has nothing of this. And instead, he's standing on top of 3 of the buildings that he was part of building. We got the spire from Børsen, which is here to the left on his right boot, and then the round tower, or the Rundetårn. And then we got Rosenborg, which is a castle very near, also a castle that belongs to the royal family, as far as I know, upside down. Here we have it again, upside down. This is the satanic inverted version that they're trying to push on us on a global scale. And the thing that, for one thing, I've never seen anything like that anywhere in the world, a statue like that. And that is right in front of Børsen. So it was like 100 meters from where the fire was, something like that. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but very, very close.
Yeah, it's just beside the building.
It's there.
You can actually
but then
see the building in the background here. You can't actually see the spire, but it's hidden somewhere here. But that's how close it is. It is literally on the same premises as the Børsen building.
And then they say, yeah, this is to make it so that it looks like a reflection in the water. What? But also the Freemasonic way of using, the Freemasons' use of symbol is often they have a lake where they have the reflection of, different type of things. This is why you have like the big obelisk in Washington, D.C. There's a long lake in front of it so that you can see the reflection of both worlds. And you have like where the Oklahoma City bombing was, also you got this lake. Very often they use these lakes, or the eternal flame, which they even put on top of the graves of their victims, like JFK's grave, and where Princess Diana in the Alma Tunnel, where she was murdered. They have these symbols. But anyway, so I looked into when as soon as I saw this statue, I was just like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. So I looked into when it was built, who ordered it, who paid for it, and so on. And it turns out that this was approved of all the way back to 2010. 2010, that when the plans and everything was approved of, so there's been a lot of work up until then. And then it was paid for, among others, from the royal family, the Danish king, queen.
The main foundation that paid for this was the foundation behind the queen, who has just abdicated, and her husband, who died some years back.
Yeah. And so on the day before it was inaugurated, there was a photo shoot. It looks just like a photographer was walking around. They were putting in this statue and stuff. There's only a few people. And so some photos were taken of it. But when I looked at these photos, I don't know if you got them, but they're very, very, I mean, for me, it looks like a public lynching. They, for one thing, there was this big thing that they couldn't get the cloth off, but that was one thing. If you go down a little bit, you will see that when and the Queen was there, and in the background you got the current head of Børsen. I don't know his name, Mikkelsen or here we have it. If you stop there, please. If you look at that, and you look at public, can you go stick with that photo, please? That one. This is, if you compare this to photos of public hanging in the late 1800s, this is almost exactly it. They built like a not scaffold, yeah, scaffolding more or less, building up. And then you had the gallows itself, and then the way this person would hang. And if you go down a little bit more, please, you will see that there are photos where there are yeah, here's the Queen, here's the artist. But look at this one. If you stop there, please. This, I mean, his eyes are covered just like when you execute someone. And he's got like he's tied up and almost like he's gagged or strangled. And then you got the purple, which is the color code for their operations all the time. The purple thing to hang him in, and then it's almost like there's one hand coming up from underneath, like a bit like, oh my God, help me, help me. So, and in the background you got is this the royal castle in the background?
That's Christiansborg. That's actually where the parliament is.
Okay, so but it's a power symbol that is in the background, and then you got this guy, and so if you go to the next photo, they've taken a photo where you see him hanging in the air. You just see his boots, like if he had been. Check it out. This is photos like of a person hanged. So when I saw this, and you see the power in the background, you see the tower with the crown on top. This is not a coincidence. These are psyops, if you ask me, because I know how they work. So these are part of a psychological operation of a power overtake. I'm not sure why they do it, but sometimes I think we're back to the law of karma, that they have to show us what they're doing to avoid so much bad karma. So you mentioned to me that I also, I don't know if I mentioned, but when the Danish Queen abdicated very recently, after almost 50 years on the throne, I think, something
January,
like that.
After a bit more than 50 years on the throne, that's right.
Then her son took over. And one of the first things he did, I think it was on the 14th of January, was raising the royal flag on the castle, but upside down. Here we are, the inverted again. And they said, oh, very sorry, we made a mistake. That is such bullshit, because that is not a mistake. It is a statement. From now on, this house is occupied by the dark forces. That's how I read these signs. So when I mentioned this to you, you said, because I don't know so much about the Danish royal family, but you said that the way they came to power was through a murder of a king. Is that correct? And if so, could you please tell us some?
Yeah, it's very interesting because King Christian IV, who is being publicly hanged here in these photos, he was out of an Oldenborg family, which is not really a Danish royal family. It's a northern German royal house, or what's it called, noble house, and they have been sitting on power in Denmark since Christian the First, for many years. I think it goes back to 1200, and just some 200 years back, this power actually shifted over to another family. It's a branch of the Oldenborg family, but it's called the Glücksborg family, and that family took power in Denmark back then in 1863, but apparently they did so by there's very heavy indications that the king at that time out of the Oldenburg family was actually killed in the palace of the king to come from the Glücksborg family, and since then the Glücksborg family has had the power of the kingdom of Denmark, also kingdom of Greece. Also, they are all the Christian the Ninth children are spread all over Europe to all the royal houses, including the present family in the UK, which is also descendants of Glücksborg, saying that they are all marry and interbreed, so they are all descendants of each other, these royal and noble houses. That's how they keep power and keep the secrets within themselves. But you're absolutely right. There's indications that this family came into power through some treaties that were signed, and through actually not only one murder of the king, but actually all in all 3 murders, because another one who was also an inheritance to the crown was also murdered. His name was Ferdinand, and also one of the dissidents of the or what's it called? Of the power, one of the dissidents who was, you can say, sort of a minister, a secretary minister. He was a dissident who actually started describing the theater that was going on, but he was being killed at this time as well, or lost his life prematurely at this time as well. So in 1863, the Danish royal house shifted from the Oldenburg to the Glücksburgers, and they have spread all over Europe, and they are very, let's say, powerful, or they have footprints in all the royal houses of Europe at this point in time.
I have no idea if it has anything to do with anything, but this is right in the middle of the American Civil War. So maybe in the turbulence there, that as a distraction, they were doing stuff to where they could get away with it. I don't know. But Flemming, when you see these photos, do you think my interpretation of this as a symbolic public hanging could be correct? And if so, why do you think they would do a thing like that? Why? What would be the purpose?
Yeah. The thing is, when I research the things that you have shed light on, it just becomes even more absurd, the whole thing. You mentioned this movie, this animated movie that we will come back to. It's called iPad Goat 2. We'll get back to that. But to answer your questions, when we look at the mainstream media at this time, when this statue was revealed to the public. Let's go first to when we look at mainstream media of Denmark, all the biggest media, you will see the story that you are shedding light on. You will see it all panned out. First of all, here's from the royal house own pictures of this revelation of the statue. We see how there was some struggling in getting it revealed. We see how happy the queen is to see Christian IV, which is, you can say, sort of a competing family to hers, but also they are related, it has to be said. So when we go to the media of Danmarks Radio, which is the main media in Denmark, because the Danish state pays them 4 to 5 billions Danish kroner a year to inform, or some would say misinform. And they made a headline that the queen lost fabric here, and that it was difficult to reveal this figure. When we go to TV2, which is the other main media in Denmark, it also says the Queen in problems at the revelation of this statue. And on one of the largest media, it's now owned by the Børsen group from no, oh, sorry, that's not owned. This one is not owned by the Børsen group. This is JP Politiken. They say that Christian IV was fighting when the Queen Margaret wanted to reveal his very discussed statue because it wasn't really something that the Copenhageners liked a lot. And then when we go to,
but can I just say here,
yeah.
if you look, like they're using a word that means both exposure and sort of
revelation,
revealing.
yeah.
So it's like both the newspapers that you have showed us using the exact same word that can be understood, and also in different ways. Also, you see the statue itself, that where the cloth is stuck is like his head, so he's like hooded, just like we were talking about an execution before. Here we have and very strange, even the Queen is standing there trying to get the cloth off, and then they have to climb up. I don't think that it was a coincidence. That was part of the whole stunt.
So the Altinget here is a media. This is the deep state #1 media of the Denmark. It just came to life, I think maybe 10 years back. And these are all also the media that made Check which is the factor checkers of Denmark, the main factor checking factory of Denmark, and these are the ones, Altinget here, who is behind this scaffolding and public hanging of the Christian the Fourth. So it feeds a lot into the story that you are putting some lights on, Ole. And if you want to, we could push on to this animated movie.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to point out once again, this happened more or less on the same day as the fire in Notre Dame. And then on the 5th anniversary of that fire, we had a fire exactly on this location. I mean, we're talking like 100 meters from this location is where that fire happened. So could there be any kind of connection here? I would strongly suggest, also when we look at the fire with the scaffolding, with the whole setup, with the whole lack of firefighters in Denmark, also where are the fire trucks, where are all of these firefighters that you would think there should have been hundreds of people struggling? Instead, we see exactly the same as outside Notre Dame, like 2 or 3 of them with hoses where the water doesn't even reach the fire. I mean, what the hell is that? And then also I have a witness that contacted me who said that a friend of his was a woman on the way into work. I mean, the fire started in the morning around 7:11, something like that. That's an interesting number for you as well. That was when the first smoke started coming out. And then it spread with incredible intensity. I mean, so fast, rocket fast. Please think laser. Because it's like, just like when you take an enlarged, what do you call it, enlargement glass, and you just put with the sun, and it just that is what. But in daylight you cannot see this. Had it been at night, you would have been able to see the laser. So this is one of the reasons they do it in daylight. But anyway, so she said that when she was on her way to work 1 hour before, there were hundreds of police officers and police vehicles in the area. They were standing outside their vehicles, chatting, talking. She didn't, I mean, she just noticed, like, what are they doing here? And that was just around the corner in this area. So the police, or whoever was there in police uniforms later, were already there 1 hour before the fire started. You have to ask yourself, what on earth were they doing there? Is that a normal way? Are they there every Friday, you know, at 6 o'clock in the morning, hundreds of police officers there? No, never happened before. So, yeah. And then once the fire was going, instead of hundreds of fire trucks coming and doing everything they could, and helicopters in and dropping water and whatever, we have a handful of people that are running in and out, getting paintings so that all of the photos could be taken, you know, so that it in and out. And also they just happened to have finished the drawings of how to rebuild that spire. So they had all the measurements, all of that, the day before. The day before they just finished. Plus, they had also made special fireproof firewalls in the building as well that limited the fire to very specific areas. And they just happened to have that installed like very, very shortly before the fire.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And they had just finished the week or the day before, something like that. The engineering and architects had just finished their plan for how to build in these fire walls into the building. So some of the building was burnt to the ground, and some of the building wasn't burned to the ground, which is an interesting fact as well. But also, yeah, sorry.
No, I just want to say, Fleming, it was built, the drawings were made in 1609. How many days since the building was erected until the day it burned down? Okay, so how many days? And this was finished just the day before. What are the chances on a mathematical scale? It's like 1 in trillion. It's like, it's just unbelievable. And look here, the intense heat here. We have this tower as well. Also, we also, just before this, a month or so earlier, not even a month before, there was a very mysterious fire in Gothenburg, which is not far from Copenhagen. It's just on the other side of the water, where there was a water world at like a Disney park, a fun fair type of thing called Liseberg, where you had this water world with 4. Here in Denmark, we have these dragon tails. The tower was made of dragon tails. It was a beautiful tower. And these dragons were there to protect from fire and from foreign attacks and so on. And you had the flags of I think Denmark, Sweden, and Norway on top, and some golden balls. So yeah, you look, I mean, it was my favorite tower. It was beautiful. But then about a few weeks before, we had this fire in Oceana was the name of it, in Liseberg in Sweden, where 4 tubes, I mean, here we have dragon tails, but in Sweden it was tubes, these tubes, where this fire just went absolutely ballistic, very fast, came from nowhere. They were just about to finish the preparation. They were going to open here this summer. And then, boom, the whole thing went to fire. And when it started with a small little fire, so the firefighters that came on location, they thought, this is not a problem, we'll take care of it. Went into the building, and I quote one of the firefighters, he said, it sounded like the building was hit by a missile. And then you have the whole thing just exploded into a very intense fire. Boom, 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 boom. And these water rides were called the Hydra, the T-Rex, there was the Abyss, and there was the Serpent. And so here, I think this could very well be connected, these 2 fires, because we've had so many different fires globally, especially in NATO countries, where they're just connecting these operations like this. So anyway, I just wanted to point it out here.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because also in Legoland, the Danish amusement park, there was a fire. I think it's 1 month ago, which was just after this Børsen fire, and in that case as well, it's like a very confined area that burned out some of the harbor area of Copenhagen, actually. So this is the mini land of Legoland, which is built miniature landscapes, and this is the landscape of Copenhagen harbor area that actually just burned within. And there's trees and bushes around it which didn't burn, but these plastic Lego small bricks, they actually burned. I think Lego forgot to tell us that that their bricks are actually made out of material that goes very easily on fire, more easily than bushes and trees.
I mean, here you go again, because they would never be able to sell these things as toys if that was the case, you know, because so this is one of the, it's really hard. What it can do is you can melt one of these ones, but it doesn't go into this and laser precision type of thing. When you see the layout of the fire at Legoland, it's like very sharp edges like this. And then also you had, because I was pointing out, I said, if there's any scaffolding around the round tower or Rosenborg castle, please be aware, because since that is the statue he's standing on, that could be targets here that they're going to go for. And then they hit Copenhagen, but in Legoland instead. It's, I can't say that for sure that they're connected, but the timing is interesting, at least, you know, that they're, if they can't hit there, they hit there instead, and so on.
That's right. Yeah, I just wanted to show.
Do you know the history of the Rosenborg castle?
The history of Rosenborg Castle is actually where the Danish crown jewels are being stored and on display for tourists. I went around both to Rundetårn and to Rosenborg to actually see if there was any scaffolding going on, but not at this point in time.
And here we have Olsenbanden. Oh, is that recent?
Yeah,
because
that Olsenbanden is actually part of this fire that happened in Legoland. You can say one amusing fact about this, that Olsenbanden has burned down to the ground. To people who doesn't know Olsenbanden, it's a iconic movie where this gang of small time thieves are trying to rob the rich elite, and they never succeed with this.
But one of the targets in their movies is Børsen, the stock market.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly it. And here we see the very confined area, which has been restored in no time. It looked like this. I don't know. You see the trees or the bushes didn't burn, but the actual harbor area with these iconic did burn. One interesting fact about these, the leader of this small-time thieves gang actually had a saying. I can't remember it right now, but it was used by the vice president recently, just before he got sacked, actually. So he used this phrase used by the leader of this gang, who's called Egon Olsen. The gang is called after him. These are, of course, a bit amusement facts, but you can see here a fire that is supposed to happen in one of the little electrical cars who is used to driving around in this harbor area of Denmark, just eradicated these couple of square meters from the surface of the earth, but the bushes around it was not touched at all.
But here, I tell you, if you look at it, it looks like they've just flattened the whole thing and then put asphalt on it. It doesn't even look like a fire. It's so even in the color, and the ashes, and where's all the melted stuff? It doesn't look real at all. So who's the owner of Legoland?
Legoland is the Kirk family, one of the richest family of Denmark, and of course Legoland is a well-known toy brand, and one of the things that they're doing, they're setting up amusement parks all over the world. This is not the first fire in this amusement park. Actually, some years back, the Eiffel Tower set on fire right suddenly in Legoland in Denmark.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to go back to the this animated movie, because you mentioned that this could be a free Masonic what's called implications in this. You also made that there's these Roman from Rome, these traditions that are being followed in some of these false flags events that actually got you started back then, and that is interesting also to follow the Sumerian into the old Babylonian civilizations, into the Egyptian, Greekish, and Roman civilizations, and from the Roman civilization, it of course went up into the Holy German Roman Empire, which more or less ruled Europe for 800 years, actually until the time that the Glücksborg family took over in Denmark, and of course other famous families, Habsburg, Windsors, which are not the real names because it's a German name. They changed it during the war. So all these noble houses of Europe were set in positions of power when the church power sort of waned off, and so this is where the Vatican is sort of the holy capital in this triangle. The second part of the triangle is, of course, when City of London became, by the Rothschild, became the power economic house of the world. That happened actually when Napoleon, the day after Napoleon was defeated at Waterloo, and then after England lost the US, because US became independent of England, then you had the Pope, the Vatican, and England in a concerted effort to derail the US, this free nation that was emerging over the other side of the Atlantic, and hence you have got the result that you've got today, a new Vatican in Washington, which is the military branch of these dark forces. So there you got your triangle, Washington, D.C., District of Columbia. Columbia, of course, referring to Columbus, maybe could also be the Order of the Columbus, which is the Jesuit highest order, and it was the Jesuits that were actually involved in setting up Washington, D.C., and all the presidents of United States in recent years, and probably going back even further back than that, they have gone to Jesuit universities. Scranton is the one that Joe Biden went to. The president elect, or the president candidate, Donald Trump, former president, he went to Fordham University in New York. All these presidents are educated in these Jesuit Vatican universities. There's about 200 of them all over the world. It shows that religious Vatican, economic London, and Washington military power is still united by these dark forces. That goes back, like you say, to Rome and to probably even before that. And here's where pyramids and things like that comes into play as well. So when you say that, and we combine that knowledge with the animation movie picture that you mentioned to me, iPad Goat, to see all the Masonic symbolism that is in this movie, actually predicting the fires of Notre Dame and the fire of the Børsen, the exchange building in Copenhagen. It gets very airy. And it seems very coordinated, the whole thing. But I'll let people judge for themselves.
Thank you for putting it together like that. If this is new to you, Flemming sounds like an absolute tinfoil hat. Unfortunately, he is correct in everything he said so far. And I want to point out that just like the Vatican is a state in its own, the city of London is not part of England. It's a state of its own. And Washington, D.C. is not American. It's a state of its own. So they got this triangular. You just described it exactly the way it is. Financial, religious, and the war center of the world. And then you got all this interaction with the weapons, drugs, organs, minerals, all kinds of stuff that is going, pedophile trafficking in between these three centers. I actually know a real Windsor. His name is Stephen Windsor, and his family are so pissed off that this family from Germany just came. They didn't even ask if they could use the name. They just took it. So his family has been trying to get it back, and they've had no luck whatsoever. They just hijacked it and became the Windsors, because that is not their name whatsoever. So iPad Go 2 it's a very eerie short film that I understand maybe 10% of. But the reason I became very interested in it is because George Bush Jr., or Boy George, when he was sitting, visiting a school class in Florida at the time of the 9/11 attacks, they were reading out of a book called iPad Goat. iPad Goat. And he was sitting holding it upside down while listening to these kids. And in that movie also, you will see that the teacher in the class, a woman, was standing to the right of the whiteboard, or the green board, or whatever, blackboard, just exactly like she's doing in iPad Go 2. And you got George Bush Jr. there as well on a Freemasonic floor. Then his head is just spinning all over the place, and he turns into Obama. But the thing is, when he was in that classroom, the words that this class was being taught was like airplane, crash, fire, burning, metal, these type, exactly connected to 9/11. And then this famous thing when you see his advisor come and whisper in his ears, the towers have been hit. Does he flick an eye? Does he do anything? He does not. He thinks that this sitting here with this in this classroom is much more important. I mean, it's just against all absurdity. But anyway, this is fact. And that's the reason why I really got into iPad Go 2. What is that? And then some years later, this animation came out from a company called Heliopan, where I just find it super creepy, super, super creepy. You will see in the background, there's so many different things that they're showing. They're showing the Twin Towers going down. They're showing Bin Laden with a CIA emblem. They're showing the apple and the snake, but in many weird forms. And well, see for yourself. And then also, if it's the Antichrist or the Messiahs, or whatever it is, but the symbolism everywhere. And also then at the end, we're getting to where you will see that there's a church with two towers or spires, where one of them goes down, and it goes down exactly like the Notre Dame tower went down, and look at how the tower number 2, which I would strongly suggest is symbolizing the Danish Børsen. It comes down in the exact same way. It falls down in the exact same way. And this was made, they started doing it in 2006, and it was, as far as I know, it was released in 2012. Interesting year as well. So what is going on? And I just want to say also from insiders, they are talking about that the people behind the scenes who are pulling these strings are planning 100 years ahead. They have a timeline that is I mean, I can hardly schedule my next week. I have no clue. These ones are so far ahead of us when it comes to these things, and they're patient. They keep it in the families and so on. So they know that things takes time, just like the ting tar tid, but that, so for them to prepare in 2010 for this sculpture, and then this is nothing new at all. So yeah, let's watch it, and please, if anyone understand fully what's going on in this, please email me info@lightonconspiracies.com, please, and help me understand what is going on, because here, if they are telling us, then we can also sometimes predict, and if we can predict precisely, we can also be part of stopping these attacks. I just want to say that the very end of this is that you will see that the 3 pyramids are being blown up. So that's bad news if you ask me. So let's see if we can stop that. Also, there's at one point, you can see the Statue of Liberty, which is actually a statue of Lucifer, and this is a statue that I've been pointing out for months here, that this is one of their wet dreams to take that one out sometimes this year. You can see there also the hand that holds the fire, the Illuminati, the illumination, that's the flame of illumination, the exact same flame that they opened the Olympics with, which is coming up now in France. You will see that the arm is cut off and the flame falls off. So yeah, let's have a look and see what you think.
When you see that, you also see the foundation of the Statue of Liberty. She is actually in the movie put on a David star in what's it called, symbolizing the Judaic religion and this Zionist movement. In reality, it's an 11-pointed star, but it's really much made out of the form of this David star. It's interesting fact. I think we will. Yeah, Ole?
No, also that the Statue of Liberty it's just called the Statue of Liberty. Most people think it's a woman. It's not. It's of Lucifer. There's a painting from 1697, I think it is, of Lucifer, and you will see that it's more or less identical. The face is not a woman's face. There's some small titties going on under this whole thing. That's why we get confused. But it's a man. There's a museum now, the Statue of Liberty Museum, where you can see in full scale the face there. It is a brutal face. It's a very brutal face. And also the whole structure of the Statue of Liberty was made by Gustav Eiffel, which was the man who designed the Eiffel Tower, which is also a Freemasonic thing. And it was given by a group of Freemasons in France as a gift to the Freemasons in the US. So this whole thing about the Statue of Liberty and welcome to freedom, it's the exact opposite. Again, we're being told the exact opposite of the real truth. So hit the play button.
Yeah, and all just in doing so, I think we should. I think what we will do is, because you have seen the movie many times, I've also seen it. So we will show the movie. I will cut and paste it into this video, and towards the end, you and I will join in on actually commenting on the very end, because this is where it gets very interesting and actually shows what you are into, the business that you are into, Ole, namely predicting things that are going on. And actually it could have been predicted, these two fires, if we had paid attention to iPad Goat and other let's say symbolistic rituals that they are trying to show us, instead of actually telling us into our faces, and thereby these dark forces are trying to get rid of any bad karma that might be involved in this. So please please watch this movie. Be very alert. You'll be able, of course, to rewind and watch some of the things. A few of the things we will also discuss together, Ole and I. So here's the very end of the movie, and this is where this figure, who has similarities to the figure of Christ, emerges from this tunnel. So Heliofant, when you go to the homepage, who actually is behind this movie, which came out in 2012, which of course was, of course, I don't know, but was predicting things. If you go to the homepage of Heliofant, you will find this under the menu media. And it's actually written in French, because this is the French part of Canada. And I think you've already translated this part, Ole.
I'm not good in French, so it's better that people check it out themselves. But it is, I find it confusing where they're pointing with what they're showing. So, but it's very interesting that this is the only thing, as far when I checked out the website last time, there was no other media at all. It was only this. I don't know if there's added stuff now, but
there's only this. That's all there is on the menu point, media on the homepage. It says something like the Jewish people is a people that has very bad intentions.
Yeah, and what can I say? If you look what's going on and you see who are there with double citizenships and Zionistic backgrounds, and you will see that it's just the same everywhere. When you go behind the curtains, it's yeah, what can I say? If there had been Danes in all of the same positions around the world, there would have been this global Danish conspiracy where everybody would have seen that this is so obvious. My God, all of this is connected. But just because it's with this religious faith, if this is what you want to call it, then we're not allowed to even point there. We're not allowed to discuss it. We're not allowed to do anything. And I think that Voltaire said it very he pinpointed it a few hundred years ago. He said, to find out who controls you, just find out who you're not allowed to criticize. That was Voltaire. And here, what is the only group we're not allowed to criticize? Is it the Muslims? No, you can say anything. You can say all kinds of horrible stuff about them publicly in media. Everybody just take it straight off. Christians, not a problem. You can say whatever, royalties, whatever, you can say whatever. But this group, it's a no-go. You can be put away just for asking questions. So, yeah.
There's very heavy
punishment
in Germany for instance, making questions about what happened in the concentration camps in Germany during the Second World War. Of course, these Jews, or this Zionist movement, is not really, I mean, religious based. It's called a religion, but it's like a crypto religion, hence the word crypto Jews. And in back some 150 years ago, they took on this Zionist movement, which is a more exact, let's say, phrase for this. And this is where Rothschild is deeply involved, of course, in forming the Zionist state of Israel with the Balfour Declaration. I think it was in 1917, which of course made the base for the Jewish settlements and not Jewish, actually Zionist takeover of Palestine. And this is also a huge war crime going on in Palestine at this point in time. As we speak, people are getting killed, children are being slaughtered in Gaza and the Rafah areas of Palestine.
Yeah. And it's for me, it's very important to, this is not about the Jews as such, as a group. This is a group that is hiding behind them. And what you say, crypto Jews, they call themselves Jews, but they're not. They're not. And the whole mental state, when you start reading the Talmud or the Elders of Zion, the protocols of the Elders of Zion, I mean, it is so dark and so bizarre and so far from all other religions, because it is like where it is only protecting their own. You can never raise a hand or do anything against one of your own in your same group. But the rest of us, you're allowed to rape, even as children. You're allowed to kill, steal. It's even being applauded. So it's like the whole thing that we see being played out in the world, where it just makes no sense whatsoever. If you read the Talmud and you start seeing these scriptures, you will see it is a manual. It is a manual that is being used against us. So, yeah.
That's right. And actually, to understand this movie that is called I, Pet Goat 2, made by Heliopan, you really need to understand that there's a lot of symbolism. And the symbolism, to understand this, I think, for an introduction to understanding this, I think to go and find Mark Passio's 14th method, where he describes the forces used against the public. He describes the Hegelian dialect. And to understand this and understand what happened during 9/11, you got to understand that the Kabbalah is being used, the tarot cards are being used, and these Masonic traditions are all merged into some occult symbolic way of telling us all that we are basically being slaughtered into submission to a one world government. That's putting it very, very brief, but you can probably see the starting scene here of this movie, where there's a goat in a concentration camp with a barcode right on its forehead, and actually says, it's hard to see here, 666 underneath the barcode. So just to put you in the frame of mind on what is going on throughout this whole movie. But I think maybe, Ole, we should linger a little bit with on the facts of the opening scene with George Bush and Barack Obama, because you mentioned this. Here's where he's actually. I was in the Middle East at this point in time, and I remember seeing these pictures at some point where he's sitting in a classroom while the towers is being taken down. He's being whispered, "We are under attack," and he just keeps on playing his role. And this classroom of little children is reading this children's story called Pet Goat. And he's just participating while his country is under attack.
Yeah, it's completely bizarre, absolutely bizarre. And really, this became sort of like hardcore information on a massive big scale. But it is, everything you say here is correct, unfortunately. I wish it was not. But in this Pet Goat 2, iPet Go 2, there are all of these, it's showing us in so many different ways what is going on. And also where these individuals, like Boy George here, who's, well, I wouldn't call him the sharpest knife in the drawer, you know, and but he's just an actor in that location. His dad, completely different story. His granddad, completely different stories. These were real players in the bigger game, but he was just put there to keep it going. And in this movie, there's so many things, you know, since this is animated, there's nothing there that just happens to be in the background. If it's there, most of the time it's there for a reason. So really, you know, freeze the frames, see what are the things on the, what are the drawings, what are the floor here, what is going on here, you know, the shark, and you see his head is just spinning around just like in The Exorcist. And you got the exact same, and then Obama comes in after, because I tell you, do you know how they got Obama in? How? Because the thing was, not that many years ago, a black president was just unheard of. I mean, no way did anyone expect a black president to come in. If I'm correct, then I think, do you remember there was a TV series with Keith Sutherland called 24? Where he was, his name was Jack Bauer. He was an FBI agent, and he was working as in the protection detail for the president, which was a black man. This black man, absolutely beautiful, absolutely incredible, such an honorable man with high morals like this. There was no way you could get to him. He would stand by his word. He would do all, I mean, and he looks like Barack Obama's big brother almost. Beautiful voice, beautiful, everything like that. So in the first series, they made us sort of adjust our senses to there could be a black president. And it's a really good series. The first season, great. Second season, suddenly you have where the moral starts getting a bit like this. The president is like, okay, we have Muslim terrorists. What are we going to do? What can we do? Oh, okay, we have to torture them. Very sorry about that. Yes, we shouldn't really, but let's torture them. Then it's waterboarding. Then it's all of these things. And the third season, maybe the Muslims comes in the third season or something like that. It's full on. And then when you see in the background who are the interest and who's been financing these things, you come to this country here where we're talking about before, that was created through the Balfour Declaration, called Israel. That's the backbone of these ones. When there are multiple of these series that have a completely different agenda. And then when this series was right there, boom, in on stage, out of nowhere, came Barry Soetoro, Barack Obama, who, when you look in his background, he's a complete construction, like a boy band, where they put together Barack Hussein Obama. You know, they put together like so that everybody has a piece of him. He's black, but not too black. He's got Hussein, so he's a Muslim. He's born there, but not really. He went to school there, but not really. And so he's sort of like for everyone. for everyone to love. And so what they did was they twisted up the madness of George Bush Jr. Absolutely, in the end, it was just like, he's mad, whatever, get him out, get him out, get him out, whatever, bring in somebody else. And in on stage, like a rock star, wow, Barack Obama. And suddenly everybody was like, thank God, we thought we were going under with this absolute mad guy, psychopath, warmonger. And instead came this civilized, very cultivated individual with a beautiful voice that was good and on TV and all of these things, called Barack Obama. Great. They moved that whole thing in, because in the background, you have this whole setup with people like Maurice Strong and Srebrenicki, or whatever his name is, where they're planning, they have like yeah, exactly. I can never remember his name, but they've got like almost like a theater group of standbys where, like, okay, what is needed now? A white woman, young, old, black, white, Hindu, whatever. So whatever the situation is right there, they've been preparing for years, and they can just activate. Okay, this time bring this one in. Boom. No, we need that one. You have to go back. Let's make a scandal. Get you out of the way, Hillary, and put in someone else. We'll get it back to you. You will be rewarded in another way, and you can come back after 5 years. We will just do it like chup 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 and back you are on stage. So we're looking at this theater, just like Shakespeare said, the world is a theater. It's a theater play being played out, and these individuals are just actors, players. Yeah, there's so much going on in the background, and this is just the opening scene here.
Yeah. It's too much, of course, to describe in one video session like this, but just to put you in frame of mind, the symbolism that is used on the blackboard behind Obama. I nearly said Osama bin Laden, because the names are so it's so close. Osama bin Laden, Barack Obama. It's like it's laughing off your face. But behind on the blackboard, you can see a picture of a school burning, an erected penis ejaculating, and a shark, a very strong pedophile sign language used here, or symbolism used here. And further on, there's the evolution of man in the background as well, where there's a wall between the human and enlightenment, and all this symbolism is just it's comprised and compressed into these is it 7 minutes animated movie. It's so weird, and it's like, of course, like the clock here saying it's time to go. It even predicts the Twin Towers and the Oklahoma City bombing and the Hurricane Katrina, the British Petrol Deepwater Horizon oil spill. So all these things that happened in the zeros, I think, in the beginning of the millennia. So weird. So weird stuff. And now also, with the help of you, Ole Dammegard, we have put together a puzzle of how the end of the movie actually ends, because when we go into Sapioplex Substack, where I'm finding these images, the author of this article, the article is in 4 parts. In the end, he cannot really put a name to what is going on with these towers in the background, other than this must be the fall of religion, of the church. And that's exactly what you have pointed to, Ole, because first of all, the church, the Notre Dame spire goes down, and then what the author here misses to see in the symbolism was actually that the Børsen Tower, the modern monetary economic market economy, is collapsing as well, to those people who knows about the American debt, the state and the American petro dollar. You know exactly what is coming towards us with regards to this economic markets crashing.
I find it fascinating that when, for instance, exactly the image you're showing us here, that second tower, if we're correct, then that's Børsen. Look at how that exactly falls exactly the way it did in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
It didn't bend over, it didn't like one little piece at the top, and then it's exactly kung, and then it fell down exactly like we're seeing here. So what is going on? There's this documentary that was made just within a week, I think, after the fire, and in it, it's a Danish documentary. In it, you will see all of these smiling people.
Yeah.
They're sort of smiling. This horrible thing has happened. He's the head of the Børsen, the building, all of it.
Brian
He should
Mikkelsen,
be in
that's right.
tears. He should be in tears. The
Yeah.
reporter is almost smiling and laughing, and they're joking about stuff like that. I mean, it's the exact opposite of what would be the natural way.
Yeah.
And so we had to be observant that, because if what I am saying or suggesting is correct, we're being played here big time, and we're being played in a way that we need to understand to stop it. We need to decipher and decode what is going on so that we can get one step ahead of them. This is what I specialized in, messing it up for them, even stopping planned attacks, which then messes up their timeline, because many of these things are connected, so that the timeline is like, this has to happen before they can do this, then this has to happen before they can do this. But if we go in and just say nope, 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 it can mess it up for months. The thing that is going on in Sweden right now with the US that has now entered into, I believe that I was part of stopping in November 2020 in a big operation called Operation Cold that I stumbled across, and just, oh my God, we were on the way getting here, and I came right at a time where I started seeing all of these things when we were driving to and from the embassy to get the papers done and stuff. I was just like, oh my God, what the hell is that? What is that? What is that? So I went out live on radio, big time, bombarding out, because also it was the 500th anniversary of the Stockholm bloodbath, you know, which was like a horror. I mean, and that was just down the road, so close. And where there were all of these things, and the whole center of Stockholm was in scaffolding, exactly these type of things like that. I was almost killed there in a car together with Dr. Dolores Cahill, or Professor Dolores Cahill. They tried to push us off the road, right in front of the royal castle. I mean, it was just bizarre times. But I went out big time and blew the whistle, because also they were because it was also the anniversary of the Battle of Lützen, which was in 1632. It's very important to know history, and these at least know. I mean, I don't know history as such. I'm unlearning all the time, but these type of things. So what seemed to be the way I could interpret what was going on was that they were going to hit Sweden on the same day that I exposed it, but at the time 1632, which is 4:32 p.m. So I went out big time saying, please be aware, get your friends together, bring cameras, go into the center of Stockholm, film everything suspicious, just filming, make it very obvious that you are there, make them very obvious. If you see anything that looks out of place, make them aware of that they're being observed, that they're being filmed, that they're being in a situation where they can be held responsible. And so at the same time, just after I did that, then the Swedish secret police, Säpo, went out on national news saying, don't listen to rumors spread on Facebook about this and this and that. At the same time, there were planes with U.S. special forces in the air over Stockholm in Osprey planes. Do you know Osprey planes? It's the same kind of planes like in Avatar. Do you know they've got like the engines can go like that, and then they're like helicopters. They were coming over Stockholm at the same time with US forces in them. Just, I mean, it was unbelievable. And they had, you know, right by Sergels Torg, the whole center was blocked off by road work. These roadworks in the city centers all over the place, so many different cities, the same. They're blocking you in, like this. And then right by Sergels Torg, which is the center of the center, and right by an obelisk, by this big fountain in the city center. So they built like a red tower that looks exactly like a guard tower, like in Gaza, but it's a restaurant. Yeah, right. And it's in a perfect position where it can control 4 different streets from, you can control the whole center of Stockholm from that guard tower. And then there were these big orange signs called checkpoints among the, I mean, that's not for road work. What is a checkpoint? I was like, freak me out. What the hell is going on? And so we delayed it. I strongly believe that we delayed that one. The US Special Forces had to fly home again and could not pull it through because they had planned something really bad to happen that day. But then now instead we're like 4 years later, and now they've done it in a different way. But at least it's been delayed like this. So this is the way we can do it.
And that's exactly the point of your work, Ole. It is to avoid all the damage from these evil forces, and of course to spread light. So this awakening, I know it's a misused term as well, within the public of Denmark, Sweden, America, Europe, of the whole world, so we can avoid these plans that these evil forces are having. And of course, in particular after this very informative talk around debate we have had on this movie, it should be and the events that has been going on, it should be evident that you should be looking out for scaffolding being put up around towers of Copenhagen, Round Tower, and Rosenborg, also the Eiffel Tower in Paris. And I know they've already put some scaffolding up at one of the pyramids, but I don't know if that's got anything to do. Of course, that happens probably all the time. But I mean, at least this is what they are trying to signaling to us. So maybe their plans changes along the way. We can never know that, and that's of course also making your business very, very difficult, because when you succeed, actually nobody hears about it, except the few that actually follow. With a few, there's many more than there has been following the work of you, Dammegard, being the name used now for actually. It's a verb to try and suss out these things. When you're Dammegarding, that's actually what you are doing, trying to figure out what are they planning. Look out for shoes, look out for bicycles, look out for scaffolding, and the list goes on. Ole, is there anything you want to include in the conclusion of this very informative video meeting?
I would very much like to say that on June the 30th, I have a webinar where, because I'm contacted by so many people that wants to know how to decode these operations, what to look out for, how to find the clues, the hidden clues that they leave deliberately in the forensic evidence and so on, the thing that have made my name, just like you said, become a verb. So we're going to have a webinar on donation on June the 30th. So please go to my website, lightonconspiracies.com, and you will see that on the webinars boom. So sign up there and I will do my absolute utmost to show you my world.
Thank you, Ole. And of course, this is your homepage. It's very easy to find. It's called Light on Conspiracies. And in here, you can go in and sign up for June the 30th webinar. So there's only left to say thank you so much for your work throughout nearly 40 years of work, Ole, and may this go even faster, this enlightenment that we are experiencing on Earth, faster with the concerted effort of us all. Thank you, Ole.
Thank you, Fleming, and see you soon. Bless us all.